Are you fluent in the language of leadership? In this video presentation, George Walther shares how we can make leadership our primary business language and project a more positive self-image to people. George Walther is an international expert in helping people to use the power of communication to achieve sales, service, and business results. He's the author of several popular books, including Power Talking and Upside Down Marketing. And he's one of the most sought-after platform speakers in the world. Listen as George Walther discusses projecting a more positive self-image.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, I've had the opportunity to find out that we have quite a mix of businesses represented here in the audience, from telecommunications to investment counseling and judicial system. So it's just not going to be possible for me to specialize what I'm going to be presenting to your particular job role. And of course, we have the distraction of lights and cameras, so I'm sorry, I know that's going to be a factor too. To be perfectly honest, I don't really think you're going to pick up anything new here. I think you know most of it already, so why don't we just go right ahead and get started. Let's try that again. Hey, thank you for being here. Fortunately, we have such a variety of businesses represented here, from investment counselors to telecommunications to judicial systems, which is especially wonderful because you're going to see that the communication techniques we'll focus on today apply in your specific business and industry and job role, regardless of what it may be. Plus, we have the added advantage this morning of being here with lights and cameras and taping equipment, so we have that extra excitement that comes when you're doing a show that will be used around the world. And fortunately, none of this is theoretical stuff that some professor dreamed up. This is not some innovation. In fact, throughout today's program, you're going to notice over and over again that in your gut you have this feeling of, yes, I've noticed that. Yes, I've found that works. Yes, that's true. So let's go right ahead and get started. Hey, I might have begun this session either of those two ways. Now, in the first few seconds, how many of you were immediately thinking, oh my goodness, how can I get out of here? This is going to be terrible. Who started off with a distinctly, everybody. You started off with a negative feeling. Why? Who noticed something that made you immediately think this was not going to be a valuable session? Yes, what did you notice?
Your body language. You just, in the beginning, the first time, you didn't really seem like you wanted to be up there.
Okay, so even before I opened my mouth, you were taking a kind of visual inventory. What does the person's body language say? And you were reaching conclusions about me before I said anything. Let me point out, as your presenter, I was not off stage thinking, oh, be sure and be down, slump your shoulders, look bad. I didn't need to do that because there is a special mechanism in effect that we're going to talk about today. So certainly body language has a lot to do with shaping the image that I projected to you, and of course that you project to the teams that you lead and that they project to the customers who you serve, both internal and external. Good, so we've got a nonverbal element. Who noticed something else? Yes?
The tone of your voice was quite different. You lacked enthusiasm in the first presentation.
Oh, by the way, I didn't say I lacked enthusiasm. I didn't say, well, I don't really want to be here. Yet, you inferred that from my tone of voice, as everybody does when they listen to you, when they meet the people who you lead. We're sizing up not just how does a person look, also, how do they sound? Did anybody notice something about what I said that was different? Yes, what'd you notice?
Yeah, your words were much more negative in the first scenario.
Interesting. My words were negative, and yet you may have noticed that I said the same things. In fact, I stated 3 facts. I said, first, that we have a diverse business audience represented here. I said second, that we're being videotaped. And I said third, that this is not some new theoretical information. I said the same 3 facts. In the first version, I used negative words. You may have noticed the first thing I said was, unfortunately. Now, as soon as I say unfortunately, not only am I shaping the image you have of me, I'm guiding my own action. Because when I say unfortunately, I hear unfortunately, and this is why you noticed a difference in body language. I didn't need to consciously look, slump down, because as soon as my brain hears unfortunately, it goes, uh-oh, bad news, something bad coming. And naturally, I get in sync. So you're absolutely right. You could say the same things with a positive or a negative vocabulary. The facts don't change. The impression that you project to other people definitely changes. So there are three factors that come into play here: words, thoughts, actions. So let me find out, what would you say is most important? Words, thoughts, actions. What do you think is the top most important? Yes?
I think actions, because that's the first thing somebody's going to see and evaluate you.
Actions, sure, they're important. And yet, haven't you known people who have perfect posture, the stride of authority? When they shake hands with you, the firmness is exactly right, the eye contact is perfect, everything is perfect, and you're thinking, what a phony. This is a hollow shell. It's just somebody going through the motions. Definitely, it's important, the way you act with others. Hey, who here would say, who believes in the power of positive thinking? Unanimous. And of course, what you think about is crucially important. So you know that after viewing this program, if what you want to do is project a very positive image to others, you know the way to do that is you go like, okay, I'm thinking really positive. Come on, where's the positive image? You know it would be absurd to say, I'm going to think really positively. That'll do the job. It would be absurd to say, I'm going to have just the right posture, just the right motions. That's going to do the job. It would be equally absurd to say, I'm going to have just the right vocabulary. Because the fact is, what you think about, what you do, and what you say all influence each other. In today's program, our focus is going to be on the specific words and phrases all of us use every day in our interactions with the teams we lead, with customers, those of us who have direct customer contact, and with ourselves. So our focus is language. Now, why that's important? As a leader, as a manager, it's critically important. Well, of course, selfishly it's important because we all want to see our careers progress. We want within our organizations to be recognized as outstanding leaders. And while people do see our actions and hear our tone of voice, they're particularly paying attention to our verbal manner of expressing ourselves. It's also very important because we set the tone for the teams we lead. The people who are our direct reports take cues from the way we interact with them verbally. And it's also critically important because ultimately the bottom line is that we want to thrive in organizations that are themselves thriving. Well, our businesses do well when they project positive images to others. So by us, as leaders and managers, using a positive vocabulary and a positive language, we inspire those who are led by us to do the same, and that's the image that we spread to the world. So great, we'll focus on verbal contacts today. Hey, would you do an experiment with me? Let me do this. I'm sure that many of you came in here and immediately looked for either somebody who you've known previously or perhaps worked with, or at the very least, you looked for somebody who seemed friendly and approachable. What I'd like you to do now, if you'd swivel around in your chair, look for somebody close by who you don't know and who you didn't at first choose to sit with. And we're going to do this in teams of 2, please. So will you find one partner, swivel around, it's fine, just face that person so you've got a partner. Okay, got your partner? What I'd like you to do, please, is decide between the two of you who has the most hair. Okay, got that? Now, those of you who have more hair, in just a moment, you're going to have a speaking role. Those of you with less hair, you have a really important job. what I want you to do is focus intently on what your partner is about to tell you. You're going to get an important gem of wisdom, and I want to be sure that you don't interrupt, don't let your mind wander, don't say anything. Just focus on what your partner tells you. That's those of you who have less hair. Those of you with more hair, here's your speaking role. When I say go in just a moment, when I say go, I would like those of you who have more hair to face your partner and tell that individual everything you can think of to say about your personal, all-time, absolute favorite dessert item. Not yet, not yet. So when I say go, you're going to start right in. Tell them what your favorite dessert is, why you like it so much, what are the key ingredients, what childhood memories do you associate with it, where's the best one you ever had, what's the texture, the flavor, the smell. Tell them everything. Those of you with less hair, just listen. One last thing. As you face your partner, I'd like you to please pick up a notepad, place it over your eyes so you're facing your partner but your vision is blocked. Go ahead and do that now. Face your partner. Okay, good. Those of you who have speaking roles, when I say go, you're going to start describing your dessert. Those of you who are the listeners, you're going to pay intense attention to what your partner tells you. Okay, ready? Speakers, go. Stop. Silence, silence. Say nothing else. Please put your papers down. Those of you who were in a listening role, I would like you to select 4 adjectives that describe your partner's personality. Just write them down on your sheet. Go very quickly. For example, confident, outgoing, shy, intelligent, organized. Doesn't matter what the words are. I want the first 4 words that come to mind as you infer what this individual's personality is like. Hesitant, emotional, thoughtful. Any adjectives that describe your partner. Do this very quickly. This is not psychoanalysis. This is quick first impressions. Okay, got them? Okay, now this next part is very important. I want to do this by example. Your partner was who? Okay, so would you both stand up for a moment, please? So, did you know each other previously?
No.
You didn't know each other at all. Okay, now, may we safely assume that you were the listener here?
Yes.
Okay, you were the
Why would you do that?
Okay. So, what I want you to do with your partner is you face your partner and you say, gee, although I didn't know you previously, here's how I'd size you up. Here's what I think about your personality. Okay, we better use a hypothetical example here. No, you wrote down good things. You said articulate. Why did you say that your partner was articulate?
She was very descriptive of what she had for dessert.
So she used specific words, descriptive, and I'm guessing that she also enunciated carefully. When you say someone is articulate, they're usually not slurring with their words. You have down enthusiastic. Why enthusiastic?
Well, she seemed to be very excited about that dessert that she had.
So, and what was your favorite dessert?
A raspberry souffle.
So she did not say, raspberry souffle is my favorite dessert. Something about the inflection, her manner of speaking, the way she put herself into it, perfect. Thank you. So what I'd like you to do is go ahead with your partner now, take a couple of minutes and tell your partner why you picked the words you did. Don't just read them off. For each word, say, was it because of their enunciation? Was it their word choice? What was it that gave you that signal? Go right ahead now, please. Okay, beautiful. Let's wrap that up. Let me find out, please. Those of you who were on the listening side, how many of you were successfully able to choose 4 adjectives to describe your partner? Okay, I see about half the hands. Half of you had the assignment. You were able to complete it. How long did you have to get acquainted with this person? How many minutes would you say were invested in this relationship with a relative stranger? How long did that feel?
1 minute. 1 minute.
About a minute? That fast? Actually, no. It wasn't a minute. It wasn't 30 seconds. When I said stop, that was 13 seconds. In other words, In less than a quarter of a minute, 3 things happened. 1, you either projected or you perceived a very full image of your partner. If I had said, we're going to take 15 minutes now, choose 4 words, but go on from there, write a little essay about the other person. How many could have picked more than 4 words? Who could have written 4 sentences to describe your partner? Who could have written 4 paragraphs? 4 chapters? First thing that happens is so quickly, in less than a quarter of a minute, you've communicated to the other person what you're all about. It happens in every interaction. When you have a new employee coming in for a job interview, when you interact with somebody in another department, when you have customer contact, they're sizing us up very quickly. 2, not only do you do it quickly, 2, you do it with specific information. You didn't say, well, I just got the feeling that she's enthusiastic. No, you're able to say it's your tone of voice, it's your inflection, it's the way you enunciate your words. So 1, you project an image quickly. 2, it comes from the specific way you communicate. And 3, you controlled it. Ladies and gentlemen, our goal in this session is to identify the specific steps that you can take to ensure that the image you project to those you lead, to the customers they have contact with, that the tone you set for your organization is as positive as possible. In fact, it could start with a single phrase. I'll always remember working with GE, which of course is a giant multinational corporation doing business around the world. There is an answer center, a big phone contact center, where consumers who have purchased products from GE call in with questions. And before I worked with this team of individuals, I wanted to sit with somebody who does this as a job and get a feel for what their real daily life is like. And in this case, I selected an individual. Her name was Miss Cooley. She's a real person. And I sat and listened to Miss Cooley as she interacted with customers who were calling. And so she was on the phone all day. And here's what I noticed. Customers would call in with questions, largely dumb questions. You know, how long will that light bulb last? Or, my kids have been making water balloons in the freezer. How can I get them out of the automatic ice maker? I felt like, you fool, you can't. But not Miss Cooley. Miss Cooley was completely positive in the way she interacted with customers. Here's what I noticed. If you called to say, I want to get the part number for that soap dispenser on the dishwasher, Miss Cooley would not say, just a minute, I'll have to get the parts manual and look that up. She would say, just a moment, I'll be glad to get the parts manual and look that up. If you asked for the nearest dealer, she would not say, well, I'll have to get your address. She would say, I'll be happy to get your address and find the nearest dealer. If you called with a technical question, Miss Cooley would never say, gee, I'm going to have to get the engineers to work on that and we'll have to call you back. She'd say, I'll be glad to get the engineers working on that and I'll be happy to call you back. So here's my question for you. If you were the individual who called and interacted with Miss Cooley, would it make a difference to you if you heard her say, I'll have to look that up, I'll have to check the parts manual, I'll have to call you back, compared with, I'll be happy to check the parts manual, I'll be glad to talk with engineering, I'll be happy to call you back? Would it make a difference to you?
Yes.
Yes, with that one simple decision, when she said, I will not say I'll have to, I will always say I'll be glad to, I'd like to, some version that indicates to the other person that you look forward to doing this. That's what shapes people's impressions. So one thing you could do is make the decision not to say, I'll have to. It's not, I'll have to call you back. It's not, we'll have to look into this. It's not even with a neighbor saying, we'll have to get together for dinner. I mean, isn't that kind of like saying, it's not that we like you or anything. It's just kind of a social obligation. You live next door. We should do it. Think of the difference between saying we'll have to get together for dinner or we'd love to get together for dinner. Changing one word makes all the difference. Oh, wait a minute. Something even more important here. What about Miss Cooley? Miss Cooley, on average, handled 3 requests for information in each call. She worked 8 hours a day and handled about 12 calls an hour. So 8 times 12 times 3, 288 times each day, she had the choice to hear herself say, I'll have to check on that, I'll have to look that up, I'll have to get the parts manual, I'll have to get the engineers working on it, I'll have to find out. I don't want to, I don't like my job, I hate my customers, what a drag. Or she could, 288 times, give herself a little boost. It's as simple as making the decision to change one word. Let's suppose that you're working with one of the teams that you manage, and they're confronting a very challenging situation. Perhaps it's a staffing schedule. Some of you are in human relations. If you're working on a staffing schedule during a holiday period, you could look at the papers and say, you know, we're going to have a real problem here. Or you could say, you know, we've got a challenging situation here. Notice the difference it makes to you and to the people with whom you're communicating. As soon as you say problem, how many people here really enjoy problems? Of course not. You want to get away from problems. Challenges are different. We move toward challenges. We look forward to unleashing our creative energies. Say what you can do, not what you can't do. Project positive expectations. One of the other very important points that you want to project to others is the image of reliability, that you're the kind of person who gets things done. People who say, I'll try, don't count on it. When they say what they should do, that's way different from what they will do. You want to be the kind of people who project the image to others that lets them know you're going to do it. So, power talkers, people who use language in a very positive fashion, eliminate wishy-washy things like, I should try and see if I perhaps might be able to maybe get them in 2 weeks. They in fact say, I will have them for you, but they don't say 2 weeks. Secret is they add a little safety cushion. The difference is the gap between what you expect to happen and what does happen. And who sets those expectations? We do. We set expectations for others. Resist the urge to tell them what you think they're hoping to hear. Don't even say what you think you'll do. Say what you believe you can beat. And that also gives you the little safety cushion that if things don't go exactly the way you planned, you've got a buffer in there. So your aim is to exceed their expectations, outperform their expectations. But even if you don't, even if you fall a little short, you will be within their expectations. Now, I think you'll agree that everything we're touching on here is important in shaping the image that we project to others. But honestly, to tell you the truth, there is one thing that, well, candidly speaking, I think, honestly, okay, what are you thinking right now? When someone says, let me be honest with you, candidly speaking, to tell you the truth, what's going through your mind?
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Yeah, uh-oh. In fact, don't you think if someone says, let me be honest with you, it's as if they're saying, now, I don't normally do this. Let me tell you the truth. I've been lying up until now. Another characteristic of people who project a positive image is that they recognize that integrity is a 100% deal. All right, so let's bring this together. What you can do now is recognize that every interaction you have with another person, whether it's an employee, a customer, or a member of your senior management team, is like a job interview. They're determining if you're the kind of person who projects the image they want. You can choose to project positive expectations. You can eliminate words like, that's a problem, say challenge instead. You can eliminate I'll have to, say I'll be glad to. You can eliminate I'll try, say what you will do. Eliminate I'd hate to, say what you want to. Eliminate what you can't do, say what you can do. Project positive expectations. You can set expectations in such a way that you are very likely to exceed them. You won't fall short, you may meet them, you'll probably exceed them. And most important of all, is to identify a starting point, to take one specific phrase that you're going to expunge, you're going to purge it, you'll get it out of your vocabulary, And my recommendation for the most versatile place to begin is to get rid of "I'll have to." Always interrupt yourself, catch yourself, and say, "I'll be glad to, I'd like to, I'll be happy to." You can do it. Thank you for putting this to work.